All right. Well, welcome to the Private Practice Elevation podcast. Jeremy, first time on the show. Excited to have you on and yeah, just learn about your world. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Daniel. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, when we're introducing new folks to the audience, we want to hear a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Mm.
And I really love people's stories, and so don't shy away from the details, like how you got into doing what you're doing now,
Yeah,
and yeah, how life led you there. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
yeah, it's really interesting story, I think. Anyway, Catherine and I got into billing in a very linear fashion. So when I was 15, I saw a job for a admin role at a community mental health center. And I thought nothing of it other than I needed gas money. So I decided to go work at a CMH making paper charts and other admin work and got a behind the scenes look at what an interdisciplinary clinic looks like: psychiatry, case management, therapy, day
Wow.
treatment, crisis home, all of it. And it was really fascinating. So that was my foray into the mental health world from a CMH perspective, which is how a lot of folks get into private practice. So
Hmm.
that was very edifying in many ways. Worked all high school at CMH in an admin role. Got a little bit of patient exposure, then went to college in Chicago, met Catherine, my wife, and did billing for a group practice in Chicago, Harris Clinical Group. They're great. And then got my feet wet in the billing world, and that was also very exciting. And by the time we left and moved to Michigan, we live in Detroit now,
Hmm.
in Detroit, and it's a great city. By the time we moved out here, all of my friends and colleagues from the CMH world were starting their private practices because
Yep.
Medicaid cuts were coming down the line. The center was looking at and talking about layoffs, and so uh, my therapist friends launched private practices, and they said, "We're doing claims all wrong. We're getting denials and rejections, and you know this
Mm.
world, and we know you, and are you willing to do it?" And Catherine and I are pretty entrepreneurial at heart, and so we said, "Yeah, why not?" And so that's how Practice Solutions started. Fast forward, we have a team of over 30 billers in
Wow.
the United States, and we love what we do. And so our mission is that we take the burden of billing off your plate and we educate around best revenue cycle management practices. So we're really passionate about this, and so been in the field and doing billing stuff for the last 15 years. It's great.
It's awesome. Wow, 15
Yeah.
years. And I think so just for folks listening, a little background, you and I are in a small mastermind group with some other colleagues, and I've only met you, probably about a year ago
Hmm.
at Whitney Owens Summit last year. And just in the short time or conversations I've had with you, I can tell, that passion really comes across and just that depth of knowledge. Dare I say a little bit of nerdiness behind the
Oh,
scenes,
thanks.
like
Oh,
what
yeah.
what
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
on, and this is for me, this is a world that I really don't know too much about because my
Mm.
wife has a group practice and she's never taken insurance, and so I'm
Hmm.
excited to learn, today. And I think, yeah, it's really good to just for our audience to hear to just the other side of taking insurance and billing and how to be successful. So, where do we start this conversation?
Yeah, this is a good question. And the way you start this conversation around why take insurance, especially if you can build a cash pay practice,
Yeah.
is a very good question. And the way you need to think about using or taking an insurance in your private practice is, what is that doing for the
Hmm.
practice or for a population you want to serve?
Hmm.
And so you really have to plan that decision. We've seen, I've seen over 15 years practices that decide, well, I have to take every insurance company in my area to be successful. Those practices end up not growing as quickly as their peers that just take one insurance company. And so we started to ask, why is that? Why
Yeah.
does the practice that takes one commercial and maybe one government insurance doing much better than the practice that takes 20? And so we started to look at that. And what we found was the administrative burden of taking 20 insurances ends up weighing you down the bigger you
Yeah.
get.
Mm.
And that's a really interesting pattern. And so when we look at practices that are really successful, like hyper successful and take insurance, they have a very focused plan around I'm going to work with a partner, and they think about it like a partner, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to work with this insurance company for this reason because it serves this long-term objective in the practice. So usually what ends up happening is a practice will say, I'm going to take a commercial insurance company because that's what most of the folks in my area have. Plus, I'm going to take a payer that meets some clinical objective or is in a population of folks that I am really passionate about. So usually like TRICARE, Medicaid, Medicare, and they know that they are going to deal with more shenanigans from the government payers and the
Hmm.
public payers than they will with the private insurers. But it's worth it from a mission perspective. But you
Hmm.
have to map out the economics of that, the procedures of all of that decision, and think surgically about how I'm going to take insurance. And
Yeah.
so that would be one way to grow your practice with insurance versus cash pay. Cash pay is so clean and the
Hmm.
revenue is so sticky. And I think that's what clinicians
Hmm.
get afraid of is my revenue won't be as sticky, if that makes sense, with a managed care company in the mix.
Hmm.
So is that why your wife decided to go private pay?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was mostly just the simplicity of it. It seems it's just simpler. Like, yeah, just I don't have to deal
Hmm.
with insurance partners and claims and all that sort of stuff. I just want it to be straightforward and simple. I think that was primarily it, really.
Yeah, and your market obviously supports that that model. And there are some markets
Yeah,
where people have to use their insurance because they can't afford
right.
the going rate. And that's the other reason why you would do it, right?
Yeah.
Is to make care you bring down the cost a little bit for your client. And then you do have to deal with some some loopholes and shenanigans. But we think with
Shenanigans.
uh they are shenanigans. Like what I'll give you a good one, right? Insurance companies don't like when they get a claim and they look at a claim,
Hmm.
they know maybe there are four things wrong with that claim, but they'll deny like a thing on the claim and
Hmm.
send it back. So then you'll
Hmm.
fix the thing
Hmm.
and then you'll send it back. And then thing number two pops up. And you go, I
Right.
thought I fixed this.
Right.
And then issue two comes up. So you got to fix issue two. And then issue three pops up. And so
Right.
you start to think about like, why am I doing this? And some insurance companies are deny claims at way higher rates than others. And
Mm.
so you'd want to consider denial rate as part of your strategy for who to take.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And I think kind of what I'm hearing sort of at the outset of this is really it's a strategic decision, who you work with that has to do with your population, who you serve, your goals for the business, as well as the shenanigans
Yeah.
that some insurance providers are known for, stuff like that. And I think back to your, what you said about like demographic and who you serve, and to my wife's example, like that just reminded that was another part of her decision. She works in Buckhead, Atlanta. It's kind of like a lot of young professionals, successful people, business people, stuff like that. That was her demographic. So those folks are a little bit more they don't really balk at paying the rates of a private pay practice. So that was also part of it. So, all these factors really come to play for folks, starting out and trying to decide who to work with as far as insurance goes.
And reimbursement rate is a huge factor in that, right?
Hmm.
And so you look at some, and a lot of folks don't know this, but you go to Atlanta or Georgia, and the rates are one thing, and then you can cross the
Hmm.
border in either direction and get completely different fee
Hmm.
schedules, right? And some states would like blow your mind about how much the insurance companies are paying, right? And that there
Hmm.
are a variety of factors to that. That's not a univariate rule there. There's a whole bunch of factors that go into why reimbursement rates are what they are
Hmm.
across the country. But
Yeah.
some practices, like, well, I see the picture of Florida in the back. Florida's
Yeah.
got not great rates, right?
Hmm.
It'd be tough to really scale and grow a practice. So this conversation, again, has to have surgical precision around
Yeah.
why you do it, where you are, who you're serving, what
Hmm.
you want the practice to do. over the next 5 years, where you think the insurance companies are headed. So a bunch
Hmm.
of thought needs to go into that decision and not
Yeah.
just do it all.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make any sense, right?
Right. Yeah. And so it sounds like there's a lot of, like, I'm thinking data and research that can really go into this decision. And is that something that you and Practice Solutions really help your clients with?
Yeah, if somebody were to call us and talk to somebody on our team about, hey, is this a good decision? We'd be able to give you a little bit of direction. One of the features of our learning platform we're really excited about is the ability to distribute rate transparency at
Mm.
scale,
Mm.
right? And you can do that now because there's a change in legislation that allows you to, with the right licensing agreement, look at rates for any NPI in any county, any state in the country,
Okay.
and get that level of data around
Yeah.
is the business going to survive the rates
Mm.
and the trends
Yeah.
around reimbursement, right? Like one trend that we've seen a lot is the rise of big therapy. And the
Hmm.
big therapy rates have very consistently been getting cut every single year because insurance companies, and this is the nerdiness that you're talking about, the insurance
Bring
companies
it.
look at all of the big therapy
Hmm.
providers and they go, oh, all of you have the same providers in your network,
Hmm.
right? So, like Daniel and Jeremy are with all of these other companies, and we're paying these exorbitant rates because of access to care requirements from the quality assurance bodies that regulate insurance companies. But we're not going to pay for the same NPI that we can get at a private practice for less. So
Hmm.
we've seen consistent decreases in rates. And so that's when you've seen session counts starting to go up in big therapy or other tricks that are being played to try to
Yeah.
build shareholder value, and
Hmm.
that's not sustainable because the insurance
Yeah.
companies know what's going on, and so they're going to
Yeah.
continue to slash the rates of big therapy until they hit an equilibrium somewhere. And so you see a
Wow.
lot of movement in
Yeah.
that regard, and so we can, like, we were able to see that coming about a year
Yeah.
ago. We
Wow.
were like,
Yeah.
well, gonna get another cut. And so
Hmm.
you can kind of see where the movement is happening,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's
which
interesting.
is really exciting. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
what are some of the other things that folks need to think about in order to make billing, successful?
Oh yeah.
I love how we're kind of starting at, like, the starting point, like the decision making, the research, if this is something new that someone wants to take on. But maybe there's folks who are taking insurance, but maybe they're kind of wondering, well, is this actually profitable? Like, what are some other things that people need to think about?
Yeah, yeah, good question. We don't think taking insurance is hard. And
Hmm.
that's not because we're a bunch of billing nerds. We think the hard part about billing is having the right mental orientation toward
Mm.
taking insurance that makes it either easy or really difficult. So here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
If you don't have a grid or a mental model of how billing should work, it's just going to go really poorly. So there are six key domains of billing that you have to think through in order for this to go really well. And I will give you and your audience what education centers give billers, right? There are
Hmm.
certifications out there and education bodies that you can get a certification. And I'll tell you the 5 millimeter change that we implement that outsizes our value compared to what the education model is. So, domains of billing are credentialing. Obviously, you have to get in
Hmm.
network. You have to prove that you are who you say you are to the insurance
Yeah.
company. From there, you go to patient registration. So you have to onboard a client, a patient. Then you go to eligibility and benefits. So you have to know if you are in network with their plan and what that looks like and what their deductible is and what they should pay you out of pocket.
Hmm.
And then you can go to claim submission. You got to have the service. Claim goes out to the insurance company. Clickety clack of the keyboards. They process the claim. It comes back. You have to process a payment or a denial, follow up on that claim, and then the cycle repeats itself. And
Hmm.
so, hence the term revenue cycle management, which is the technical term of what we do.
Okay.
Process is a little bit different. We go from everybody has to be credentialed, patient registration is the same, eligibility is the same. And then we don't jump straight to claim submission. A lot of folks go eligibility, claim submission, which makes sense on a first claim. But on a repeat claim, we don't start there. We go to payment posting. The reason we do that is because the number one denial reason in the country is for a duplicate claim service, which means you've just resubmitted a dirty claim over and over and over and over again,
Mm,
and you will never resolve that claim. The only denial you resolve in that chain of denials is the original claim submission.
mm,
So what you have to do is you have to go back to the original and fix it. But you stop that pattern, that dysfunction of repeat claim submission because you think that will increase your velocity to payment. Insurance companies don't pay because you submit a claim faster. They pay on their own schedule.
mm.
And so
Yeah.
there's no sense in resubmitting these claims with issues over and over again. You have to solve them at payment posting and aging follow-up, and
Hmm.
then you can go to claim submission. And so that's a small, we sort of took one part of the process and we shifted it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a big
Hmm.
change, but it cuts out a huge amount of the administrative overhead that a
Hmm.
practice experiences when they just are resubmitting claims over and
Yeah.
over again. And so it's
Yeah.
not an
Wow.
obvious change, but it doesn't make sense on paper, but in practice, that's what helps.
Yeah, wow, that's super interesting. And I'm listening to you say all these things, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that I would hire you in a second if I
Oh,
was if I was
thanks.
a therapist. Like, yeah, because like those little you said like a 5 millimeter change that can really make all the difference. And when you're thinking about sort of, I'm thinking my mind kind of goes to those larger group practices and just like the scale of it all. That there's so many claims being submitted. There's so many, backlogs of payments happening, I'm sure. Like, so to have somebody with your expertise to kind of see that and make those small tweaks like that could be talking big revenue there, you know?
It's huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that would be the next thing you would need to know. So you need to know the stages of billing, and then you need to know how to measure what you're looking at, right? Because you can't manage what you don't measure,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you have to look at what's called an insurance aging report and see all that tells you is how long has it been since we had a session and a claim went out to lack of payment, essentially. It
Mm-hmm.
shows you what's outstanding from
Yeah.
the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the primary reports a biller will look at in order to diagnose a big mess. So if you're a group practice owner, you haven't looked at your insurance aging report and you pull it up, you're going to need to take a deep breath, especially if it's not being managed, because we've seen aging reports well into the millions.
Wow.
And practice owners get a lot of anxiety about that.
Yeah.
But the benefit of a biller who knows how to look at that report is we can diagnose this is where we're going to start and this is how we're going to see results through the
Mm-hmm.
process. So,
Yeah.
but that report is the first thing you'd want to know. You'd want to pull every couple weeks. You want to know where your revenue is moving and what's outstanding because that's revenue either you won't ever get paid for,
Mm.
or if it's managed appropriately, you can have a very consistent revenue stream for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be a report out of
Mm-hmm.
several, but that is one of the most important that you'd want to look at.
Yeah. And remind me again, what was that report called again?
It's called an insurance aging report.
Okay.
And not all EHRs are created equal. So
Mm.
some it's a click of a button, some you have to build it. So it's not they don't have that report built in. So you
Interesting.
need a process in order to build your aging report accurately
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
look at. So that's one of our gripes with electronic health records is
Yeah. Makes sense.
like EHR EHRs are really important, obviously, and they probably are
Mm-hmm.
important from a web development perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
From like a website perspective.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so for us, we have very specific things that we like about them and very
Yeah.
specific things we don't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And hopefully those conversations are happening so that we're seeing the improvements and stuff to make sure
I
that,
sure hope
yeah,
so.
keep
Yeah,
adding these features and things.
for sure.
Well,
For
I want to
sure.
I want to go back to kind of what I was starting to talk about of just like yeah, this makes sense for like a larger group practice as it could be like huge revenues there. But like when does it make sense for someone who's really managing the insurance claims and billing themselves? Maybe they're in the growing stages or they're just starting their group practice. At what point does it make sense to kind of shift to uh, outsourcing this, to someone like yourself?
Yeah, it's a really solid question. It really depends on the practice owner. The most common that we see is when they have a full caseload, when they
Hmm.
have 25 to 30 clients, because they're
Mm.
on their way at that point.
Yeah.
Before that, billings should not take up a ton of time. And if you're experiencing a lot of issues, there's probably a credentialing issue, most likely.
Mm.
But when you have a full caseload, you'll be the best paid biller in the country if you're doing it yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because the exchange of time is really valuable. And I know that's
Hmm.
hard for growing practices to think through
Yeah.
in a lot of respects.
Hmm.
You think through, well, I could just do it myself, but it's consuming 2 to 4 hours a week. And that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a lot, but over a year, I mean, you could recruit a clinician to your practice in that time and outsize the returns you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And so for a biller, you can manage the cost to the practice really easily
Hmm.
by outsourcing it. So, and
Yeah.
then the real question, Daniel, is you outsource around when you're full as a caseload, but then the question becomes when do you take it back,
Mm.
right? Because at
Mm.
some
Yeah, that's
point, it
good.
actually makes way more sense to come back. And that
Yeah.
number is right around 2.5 to 3 million
Okay.
in revenue.
Interesting. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, there's those things where you have to get to the next level and the next stage, and but then it kind of comes back in-house.
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
And we're really excited when that happens because it means we've done our job. Like you've
Yeah,
saved
that's
enough
great.
time
Hmm.
to go, okay, I need to bring this back in because a full-time biller in-house that I'm managing
Hmm.
is like shifting into a higher gear where you can go a lot faster in your car.
Yeah,
And you
right.
just need to know when to make that shift.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't have any other specific questions other than I want to hear some of your success stories. Like
Oh, yeah.
does like anything come to mind that could maybe help paint the picture, about what you do and why, billing is so important in getting this right.
Yeah, I have a few. So, and I'll stratify these over the different types of practices that exist. So, our first client, she was a therapist at the community mental health center, and she was doing probably 35 sessions a week, mostly Medicaid practice,
Wow.
really grinding it out, Daniel.
That's
It's
a
just a
lot.
lot, it's a lot of sessions,
Hmm.
and she's dealing with Medicaid. And we got into her billing, and she had switched to us for a variety of reasons. But one of the first things we do when we get into an account is we do an audit. We look at,
Hmm.
all right, what's outstanding? What are some of those quick wins? And so she brought us on, and then she took a vacation to Mexico because she said, I'm burnt out. I just
Hmm.
want you guys to get in there, like get your fingers in it, and then when
Yeah.
I come back, we'll reconnect. I'll start sessions again. We said no problem. While she was gone, we found right around $3,000 to $5,000 of claims that just had never been submitted.
Wow.
And so we had submitted all of those before she got back, and they had
Hmm.
paid right when she got back. And she said, I got paid a lot while I was gone. What happened?" And so we
Wow.
walked through it, and it essentially paid more than her vacation was worth. And
Yeah.
so that was very exciting. It was like
Yeah.
immediate value
Yeah.
to her and her practice, which was really, really great.
That's awesome.
Another success story, again, a Medicaid practice, which this practice is really unique and special to me because this practice owner made a decision to just be Medicaid, which is that's a big choice
Hmm.
because you're going to deal with a lot of headache. But she was very driven,
Yeah.
big practice, 40, 50 clinicians,
Hmm.
um, big aging, and we were able to get that down. And she doubled her revenue because she didn't have clinicians in her office. They weren't questioning their paychecks. They weren't quitting because of reimbursement issues. Their
Oh,
patients
wow.
knew
Yeah.
what was going on. All of that solved for a multitude of pain points. And then she added another site and grew. And then she went in-house with that, which was really, really great because
Wow.
that's the whole objective is in a
Yeah.
year we can do this.
Yeah.
And then you can go in-house and take it over.
That's
And then the
awesome.
last one, this was a giant organization in Wisconsin that does like everything from
Hmm.
foster care, community impact, therapy, case management, really, really big. And during our audit, we found that a managed care company, won't say who it was, but had underpaid them like a buck or a little under a buck on all of their claims. But they're doing, eight figures a year. And so
Hmm.
less than a buck on a claim is a big, big deal. And so
Yeah.
eventually we got to the right person within the company, and we had to bring in a state person who manages they're called an ombudsman in some states, but insurance commissioner in other states. So
Hmm.
the regulating body. And we were able to get them to go back and reprocess 2 to 3 years of claims and
Wow.
like funded some of their programs that year because of that.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
was really, really great. We love those kinds of things because it's just
Yeah.
immediate fuel in the tank to do whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's super exciting. It almost has this sense of like justice to me. Like, yes, like we
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
found a loophole or just something that could have even easily been overlooked. But to have, someone with your expertise and your team's expertise to see those little issues could really make a big impact.
Yeah, insurance companies are not perfect. So
Hmm.
whenever friends of mine, they go, "Hey, can you look at my bill to make sure it's like right?" I go, "Oh, you should dispute all of your bills, like all of them, because it's all fraught with peril, right? I mean,
Mm,
the hospitals are wrong a lot, insurance
mm,
companies are wrong a lot. You should
yeah,
dispute it, know your benefits. So you as a patient, right? I know we're talking to practice owners, but
yeah.
as somebody who uses insurance, as a
Mm,
consumer patient, you should know your insurance and seriously dispute every bill until you know it's right. Because there's
yeah.
probably a problem
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good to know. Is there anything other, last words of wisdom or things that you want to leave with folks about this topic of billing?
Oh, I think the only thing I would leave you with is ask for more. But always ask for more. When you
Mm.
go to rate negotiate, ask for more than you think they'll give you.
Hmm.
Ask more out of clinicians, ask more out of your administrative processes. Get lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. There's
Yeah.
there's no reason why you should settle for
Cool.
sure.
Awesome. And on that point, I believe you have a resource for our audience that's around insurance rate increase requests,
Yep.
a
So we
worksheet.
built we built a worksheet around how to negotiate for rates, and so that's available to your audience. They can
Awesome.
download that, and it's a good resource for sure. It kind of guides the conversation in a data-driven way, which is all insurance care about. They care
Yeah,
about data, so
absolutely.
you have to prove what you're doing.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll link that up in the show notes for this episode so folks can get that and can check you out. And why don't you
Amazing.
just let us know a little bit more about where can folks find you and connect with what you do?
Yeah, so practicesol.com is the company URL. Everything we're doing there from the podcast to our learning platform. And then you can reach out and talk to us about if you want to outsource your billing. We also do build out billing departments for folks
Cool.
on a project by project basis. We have a team that specializes in that particular role, and that's very exciting because that's where you get a lot of white glove service and will help
Hmm.
you hire and train and retain your biller in-house. And so that gets pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But a lot of education on there, and we're really excited about all the things that we're doing to help practice owners stay lean
Hmm.
in a really shifty market.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time and just for sharing all your knowledge around this. And I feel like I learned a ton about this world just in our short time together. So
Well,
thanks so much, Jeremy.
yeah, thank you.